As Jews, must we follow majority Jewish practice? Or have you ever been told, we must follow the rabbis? Such is an extremely oversimplified statement. Which rabbis? Follow the rabbis of what era? If of the modern era, in what matters? Certainly you know that they disagree on countless points. Was a poll taken to see how the majority of Torah scholars hold in each matter of Jewish law? Or do people really pretty much just follow what they see every other religious Jew do? If so, is everyone else basing their actions on a poll taken as to the majority practice or the majority opinion among modern rabbis? Or are the sheep really just following the sheep? The widespread claim that Jews are required to follow the majority in every generation, meaning even when the Great Sanhedrin is no longer functioning, is both erroneous and hypocritical. Ashkenazi Jewry did not abandon its unique practices when the Jews of Islamic lands were the majority. And likewise, once Ashkenazi Jewry became dominant, the Jews of Islamic lands did not abandon their unique practices in favor of that of Ashkenazi Jewry. Clearly, however, majority practice is a powerful influence whose infiltration is difficult to avoid. Those who uphold majority practice tend to be more confident and less concerned about discrimination. Those in the minority, on the other hand, feel pressured, if not in some circumstances even coerced, to conform to increasingly popular practices. In reality, however, one is even hard-pressed to find individuals who actually strive to follow the majority opinion among poskim of their own tradition of orthodoxy. Many serious religious Jews do actually, in fact, try to observe Jewish law according to the expertise of a specific Torah scholar of their own choosing. But those who claim that one must follow the majority should either practice what they preach or consider a more logically consistent approach. Our approach is that presented by the Rambam. One is required to behave according to the majority practice outside the context of the Great Sanhedrin only when Hazal stated that the halakha depends on the current majority practice. This they stated regarding only certain matters and only with regard to majority practice in a given locale, not with regard to majority practice of Jews of a particular ancestry or ethnicity. Needless to say, this is on the condition that the local practice does not conflict or violate the Torah or Talmudic halakha that Hazal established irrespective of locale. Additionally, when one comes from a place where the practice is to follow the more lenient opinion among those opinions presented in the Talmud, and then he goes to a location where the majority practice is to follow the stricter opinion among an unresolved dispute within the Talmudic literature, he is required to follow the stricter opinion when in that locale wherein the people follow the stricter opinion in the unresolved matter of Talmudic law. This does not, though, apply to the endless stringencies of non-Talmudic origin. If, however, our sages really thought this principle applies even to the endless stringencies of non-Talmudic origin, the Jewish world might be much more unified, albeit even more blind to the forest for the trees than it already is. As for matters about which no Talmudic opinion is given, or which do not fall under the category of those matters that Hazal stated are dependent upon local practice, each congregation is free to do what it finds most reasonable to do, and likewise the individual is free to do what he finds most reasonable or most logically convincing, when taking into consideration the Torah's commands and the principles and precedents laid down for us in the words of Hazal. The prohibition of lo titgodadu, not to be divided into parties, applies to betei dinim, adjudication within the context of a Jewish court, that there should not be more than one Jewish court within any given locality. This prohibition does not apply to details of Jewish liturgy. Now you may be thinking about, well, what about the prohibition of being poresh min hasibur, that one shouldn't separate himself from the community? Well, this likewise does not apply to the details of Jewish liturgy, but to actually abstaining from interaction with the Jewish community to the extent that one does not uphold the commandments together with them or have concern for their troubles. Despite the fact that there is more freedom to devout Torah observance than many are aware, there remains the foundational principle that politeness precedes Torah. When it comes to matters outside the scope of clearly defined halakha, We should not unnecessarily behave differently than those we have surrounded ourselves with, if there is reason to believe that doing so would be viewed as disrespectful or offensive. Her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. Shalom uvracha.